Can I ask you something? Have you ever opened the list of your goals, the ones that you wrote right at the beginning of the year, looked at everything you promised to yourself, and quietly closed it again because none of it truly happened? Maybe you planned to lose weight, maybe you wanted to save some money, maybe you wanted to start your business, read more, or simply become the version of yourself that you actually wanted to be this year. And now we're almost half through the year, and instead of feeling excited, you actually feel very disappointed. It seems that everyone is moving forward while you're standing exactly where you were 6 months ago. And maybe you even starting telling yourself things like, I'll just wait for the next year. I've already wasted this year anyway. There's no point on trying now. And I really want to say that if this is how you're feeling, do not give up on yourself just yet, because the year it's not yet finished and your story it's not yet over. And I almost believe that these next 6 months could actually change your life more than these past 6 months ever did. Not because something magical or sudden is going to happen, but because sometimes all it takes is one decision, one perspective shift, one moment where you choose not to stay where you are and actually do something. So if you're feeling discouraged today, I want you to think of this video as a conversation with you, not with pressure, not with unrealistic expectations, just really a reminder that there is still so much time left. So let's begin and let's talk about this. One thing I have realized about myself is that around this time of the year, I naturally stop and reflect. I look back over the 6 months that have just passed and I ask myself, what has been going well? What wasn't? What needs to change? Because you can't change when you are unwilling to look at the reality of your life. But I've also realized something else. This time of the year can feel very incredibly discouraging for some people, because instead of reflecting, many people start judging themselves. They don't see 6 months of learning, they see 6 months of failure. They don't see 6 months of progress, they only see everything they haven't achieved yet. And maybe that's exactly where you are today. But can I remind you of something? Life is not an exam. I know that we get used to school a lot because we spend majority of our time on it, but life is not an exam. You don't fail because one chapter didn't go as you wanted to go. The school is not final just because we are in June now. You're still around 180 days left. Think about it. 180 days. Imagine what could happen if you simply become 1% more intentional every single day. Imagine where you will be by Christmas. The problem is not that you're running out of time. The problem is that you're convincing yourself you have a time when you don't. We all go through our own time, and you can take your time as well. As long as you start, that's all it matters. Most likely, if you are watching this video, is because you want to restart and you want to be able to do things right from now onwards. And many of us, when we try to restart, we start asking, what do I want? So what do I want these 6 months to look like? However, I really want you to shift and to stop thinking of what do I want and actually think about who I am becoming in these 6 months. I think one of the biggest mindset shifts I've ever had was realizing that goals are important, but your identity is even more important, because goals eventually they end. You reach them and then that's it. But your identity, who you are, your character, your values, that doesn't change. So it's very easy for you to stand here and ask, oh, what do I do to achieve by December? Oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to have more money, I want a better job, I want to grow my business. And those are all good goals and very valid goals to have. But again, there's an even better question that you can ask yourself, like, who do I want to become by September? Because once your identity changes, your habits will follow through. Instead of saying, I want to read 20 books by the end of this year, you can simply say, I want to become someone that reads every day. Instead of saying, I want to get fit, you can simply say, I want to become someone who honors their body. And instead of saying, I want to be confident, you can say, I want to become someone who keeps promises to themselves. And I spoke about this the other video as well, that confidence is not what you do, but it's actually who you are and the promises that you keep to yourself. So again, focus on who you want to become in these next 6 months and not the things and the stuff that you're going to do to reach there? Will you have to do some sort of movement, change to actually become that type of person? Of course. But we're not focusing on goals, we are focusing on your character. And one more thing that I wanted to mention is that when you focus on your character is very good, because when a hard situation comes your way, either with your health, with your financials, with your family, it's very easy for you to find that conflict and then to walk away, or to find that conflict and then become someone that you never imagined you wanted to be. But if you focus on who you are and who you are becoming, when something hard comes your way, you will actually have a good foundation for you to stand. Now, this is just going to be a reminder. I really want you to have this in your head, that sometimes we think and we even confuse being busy with actually growing. But I really want you to know that buying that planner is not growth, that watching another productivity video is not growth, downloading another habit tracker isn't growth, changing that wallpaper that you have through actually a quote, it's not growth. Growth really happens after all of your excitement has disappeared, and growth is actually choosing to continue when nobody is watching. So yes, if you stay committed after that motivation leave, because eventually it's going to leave, that's where you really understand who you are. And if you really want to grow, you really see growth on the boring Tuesdays, on the quiet mornings, on the evenings that no one will know if you skip the habit or not. Not in huge moments, but in those tiny decisions that you have to make every day. That's where you prove to yourself if you're truly growing or not. And I really want everyone to be reminded of this, because sometimes we can be so influenced on buying these, doing that, doing the other, and we think that we're being productive or doing something in regards to our growth when we are not. Sometimes growth really happens on those quiet, boring moments. Now, another thing I really think that is important for me to raise, especially if you're wanting to start your growth journey in the half of the year, is that you have to have the mindset that life is not happening to you, but life is happening for you. Now, I know this isn't always easy to hear when life feels very unfair, very difficult. I personally had moments where I kept on asking, why is this happening to me? Why now? Why me? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward and I'm standing still? And maybe you have asked yourself these questions too. But when I look back at my own life, I can honestly say some of the moments I wanted to escape the most became the moments that shaped me the most. At that time, I couldn't understand why certain doors were closing, why certain things were happening, why certain people were leaving, why certain plans completely fell apart. But years later, and I say years later, I realized that those moments were preparing me for things I couldn't yet see. That is why I've slowly stopped asking these questions as why is it happening to me, and instead I really start asking myself, what is this trying to teach me? Because without you knowing, the question changes everything. And when you have this mindset that everything that happens to you happens for a reason and is happening for you and not to you, everything changes. Sometimes we truly have to sit down and understand that life is not trying to punish us. Sometimes it's actually preparing us to who we want to become. There are lessons that only time can teach, and probably one day you will look back at this season and realize that it wasn't the end of the story, it was simply the chapter that changed you. And now, if you are someone more practical and you're just sitting here watching this and saying, what can I do to actually make sure that this year is going to be the best year that I could possibly want to have or could possibly have? One thing that I really do is that every year I choose one word that becomes my compass. It becomes what I guide myself through the decisions of that year. And I know that this is quite different because people do their goals differently, and I have done it in many forms. I'm the type of person that I go there and I put all my goals and I just focus on all of them at the same time. I have done that. I have been the person that only focus on goals depending on the quarter of the year. If it's quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, I have done that. I have also been very focused and only choose 3 goals that I wanted to focus on. I have done that. This time I have chosen something slightly different, which is just to have a word that I can focus on. Now, for some people, maybe a word is not enough. Depending on your situation, you actually might need a full phrase, and that also works. But what I truly focus this year, it's not to have 20 goals, it's not to have 15 habits, it's not to have millions of things that I will struggle to do throughout the year, but just to have one thing that I can look at, know, and focus on. One thing that I could look, reflect, and think, have I based my ear on this word? And I think that that alone gives you so much clarity. I will encourage everyone watching this video to actually sit down and pick your word. If you are confused and you're like, I have many words in my head, I don't know what to choose, sit down with yourself, write down every single word that comes to your mind and start looking through them and pick one. Because maybe for this year your word is consistency, then you know you need to stick to that. Maybe your word is courage, peace, discipline, faith, health, presence. Whatever it is, just make sure that you are intentional in the word that you are choosing. Let the word become the filter for your decisions. Whatever you feel unsure about, something, insecure, ask yourself, does this decision make me closer to the person this word represents? And you would be surprised how much clarity comes from this simple principle. And here's the important part: this word that you choose matters more on the days you don't feel like following it. Nobody can choose kindness when life is going well, but when everything around you pulls you into the opposite direction and you still choose to live accordingly to the person you are becoming, that's when you know that you are truly growing. The thing I really want to raise, and I think is very important, especially if you're wanting to start something in this mid or half of the year, is that sometimes you are not stuck, you are actually overwhelmed. And honestly, I think one of the biggest problems today isn't about being lazy, but is about being overstimulated. We're constantly consuming, we're scrolling, we're watching, we're listening, we're learning, we're comparing, we're doing so many stuff that sometimes we are literally planning the next month when we are forgetting the today. And sometimes we don't even know where to start anymore because everything feels important. And when you are confused, you tend to be stuck. When you are confused, you actually tend to delay to do stuff because you don't want to do something, because you don't want to figure it out, because it takes time, it takes action. But when you get things sorted and you resolve things and you start to make things more clear, then that's when action starts to follow. But I just want you to know that you don't need to fix your entire life today. You just need to know what is going to be your next step. Not the next 100 steps, but just the one that you need to do today. Because momentum doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing one thing consistently. Now, I know that the stuff that we have been speaking about is all about adding, is things that you can do, especially in these next 6 months that you have ahead of you, or 5 or 4 or 3. However, do not fall into the illusion to think that you can add all this stuff without removing stuff. You have to do both. And you have to challenge yourself with this, because instead of asking yourself what you need to start, sometimes you need to stop and ask yourself, what do you need to actually stop doing? What are the things that you were doing but you're not doing genuinely? You're doing because you're forced to do. Is that a friendship? Is that a relationship? Is that a version that doesn't really feel authentic anymore? Are you saying yes because you truly want to, or just because you feel guilty if you say no because you know how much they need? Because sometimes the biggest breakthrough doesn't come from adding a lot of habit, because you add, you don't remove, and then just is stuck exactly the same way. But it comes from removing the things that are quietly draining all of your energy away. So again, you don't need to fix your whole life by next week, but there is, or there should be, at least one thing that you can focus on, that you know that it's bad, that's not adding anything to you, and that you're going to be like, I am going to remove this one thing. Maybe you can't let go of the thing that's making it heavy, but you need to understand that you need to, if you are looking to grow, or if you are looking to move forward in this next couple of months. And I would even say especially negative people. I know a lot of us have people around us that complain, that are negative, that see you doing something different, and they feel the need to comment on it, to say negative words. But if this is draining you and is actually putting you down, you shouldn't keep people like this in your life. They're not adding. If they're not helping, then you need to exit. And I know that it's easy for us to say, oh, just exit that friendship, or just stop speaking to them. And it's really hard to do that, especially when you're very connected with them. But you need to understand that it's very hard for you to move forward when you have someone in your ear always telling you, oh no, stop, oh no, don't do this, don't do that, why are you doing that, oh no, that's so bad for you, you shouldn't focus on that now, this is for people that are 30 years old, whatever comments they do to you. It's very hard for you to actually stick through a new routine than when you have someone pulling you back. So do not expect to grow if there's someone in your life that it's constantly pulling you back. And all of this goes hand in hand together, because the next thing is that you need to stop speaking with yourself like you are unworthy of what you have. You have to start to speak to yourself like someone who's worth becoming. And you really need to be aware on how you speak, sometimes not to people, but within yourself. You have to become aware of how often do you speak negatively without even noticing. Oh, I'm lazy. Oh, I'm tired. Or I'm terrible at this. Or I'm probably going to fail anyway. Or I'm always behind. At first, it sounds harmless, and sometimes it even sounds like a joke, but the more you repeat them, the more your mind starts believing them. Words really shape your identity. And if you go to the beginning of the video where I was telling you, don't focus on what you're going to do, but focus on who you're going to become, then these words need to be out of your dictionary, because eventually, if you're not careful, because you say so much and it's so repeated, you become. And no, I'm not saying for you to now start pretending like nothing has happened and that everything is perfect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you should speak about yourself with honesty, but also with hope. Instead of saying I'm always quitting, you can say I'm learning to become someone who starts and finishes. Because when you say that, there's a huge difference. Just by saying it, you see a huge difference. So take this as a reminder, but you should be positive when you speak about yourself. Another thing that I really find as equal as important is for you to slow down. Now, I know a lot of people are going to come to me and say, but Claudia, I'm already late because I didn't start at the beginning of the year. I'm starting in the middle of the year. So what do you mean slow down? I will tell you exactly what it means. Before we finish this video, I really want you to think about this. We all live in a rush. We are all in a rush. We are in rush to do things. We are in rush for work. We are in rush for everything. We're rushing through Monday, waiting to Friday. We are rushing through June, waiting for December. We are rushing through our 20s, waiting for everything to finally come together. And somewhere along the way, sometimes we forget to actually live the life we are trying so hard to improve. When you are always in a rush, that actually steals from you the gratitude that you should have. It steals from you your peace. It steals from you the present moment. And it's not good. It's not good when you are always in a rush. I know that life promotes this. Life promotes for you to be in a rush, but it's not good. And if you are looking to grow, you do need to have quiet moments. So this week, I will encourage anyone watching this video to choose to do one thing that is going to be slow. Drink your coffee without checking your phone. Go for a walk without headphones. Wake up 15 minutes early and simply sit with your thoughts. Because sometimes slowing things down is exactly what gives you the clarity and the direction and the growth that you actually need. Sometimes we think that growth comes from doing much and doing this and the other. It doesn't. Growth is when you actually sit down. You pay attention. Being in a rush does exactly the opposite. So have moments in your life that you can sit quietly to do something. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. I don't know what you're currently going through, but I just want you to know that I'm here. I'm your best friend, I'm your bestie, and I'm your sister. So if you need anything, please count on me. Maybe you're excited about life, or maybe you are grieving something, maybe you are trying to rebuild after making mistakes, or maybe you are simply tired. So whatever chapter you are right now, I really hope that you leave this video remembering one thing, and I'll hold your hand while I say it. This year, it's not over, okay? You are not behind, and you're definitely not too late to start or to amend things. You don't need to have your whole life figured out by tonight. You don't need to know every step you will take over the next 6 months. You only need enough courage to take the next step. One conversation, one application, one page, one act of kindness, one decision, because that's how change happens. Not in one massive life-changing movement, but through small choices that slowly become completely different each day. So before you close this video, pause for just a second and ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Then go and actually do it. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until next month. Don't wait until January next year. Simply start today. Even if things are messy, even if it's a small action, even if no one notices. And I would really love to know what's the decisions that you're going to take. So leave a comment below and let me know what you're going to start doing from now onwards. Because never forget, you are not on this alone, and your comment might help someone else and might help even me. And if this video has encouraged you in any way, shape or form, or reminded you that you're not alone, I'd really appreciate if you gave it a like. It helps me a lot. And share this message with more people that you feel they will need to listen to the same. And if you are new here, I would love for you to subscribe, because there are videos every week. On this channel, I really want this to become a place where we all growing together, becoming the best version of ourselves, not through profession, but through small intentional steps that make a big difference when we look at them over time. I will upload videos every week about personal growth, emotional intelligence, relationships, discipline, and becoming the best version of yourself. So if this is something you're interested in, I would love for you to be here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.